Come on down to Boost Mobile and turn your tax refund into 6 months of savings?
Nope, all wrong. You're on the radio touting Boost Mobile's 5G network. You gotta use your radio voice, like this. Come on down to Boost Mobile and get 6 months free when you buy 6 months on our best unlimited plans. Now you go.
This is just how my voice sounds.
Just say it like you mean it.
Okay.
Plus, enter to win up to $10,000 and double your tax refund.
Oh my.
Requires upfront payment. Taxes and fees extra. Terms and exclusions apply. Visit boostmobile.com for full offer terms and sweeps details.
When you think of skyrocketing brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, it's easy to credit their success to great products, sleek branding, and brilliant marketing. But here's the overlooked secret. The real magic lies in the engine behind the scenes, the business powering their business. For millions of brands, that engine is Shopify, making selling seamless for them and shopping effortless for us. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Aloe Yoga uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/retail, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/retail to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/retail.
Opinions will always differ, and so they should, because everyone draws from different influences. Parents, peers, politics, education, media, culture. What you believe depends on who you believe. Financial Times readers know that their opinions are reliable because they're shaped by trusted journalism. Robust opinions. Confident decisions. Source, FT. To subscribe, go to ft.com/sourceft.
I also just read the whole thing, and I think I remember all the choices. I couldn't click through, so I just had to read it in order.
Did you read all of the possible choices? All 700 pages of that document?
I did. You didn't?
No. I chose my own adventure. Everyone, and welcome back to Monster Donut, a literary and historical deep dive into the Percy Jackson series and all of its following spin-offs. I'm Phoebe, a dramaturg and story consultant.
I'm Emily, a classic scholar-ish.
And today we are attempting to recreate the experience of playing the long-dead Percy Jackson Choose-Your-Own-Adventure app, Demigods of Olympus.
So Phoebe knew this existed. I've never heard of it. Talk us through, because you had this.
I did have this app. This was an app that came out in 2014, where I'm going to assume that most of the people listening did not have this app. It was only up in the App Store for 2 years, and
It was up for 2 years?
Yeah. But this was an app where it would store your ebooks, so all of your Percy Jackson content would be in this app. But also, it had a couple of short stories in it, so when you downloaded the app, you would be randomly assigned a name, a physical feature, like you have a scar somewhere or freckles or something. And I think that's it. It might have given you something else, but I don't remember. And then you would play through 4 short stories. They're more like chapters of a book to me.
Yeah.
That as you played, your choices while playing through the adventure would determine what your fatal flaw was and who your godly parent was in the end.
Oh.
Kind of a cool idea.
It's cool. But we didn't really get the full experience then.
No, we did not get the full experience at all. There are a lot of things that are in this book. Because they did publish the short stories after they shut down the app, you can still buy and read the short stories. But a lot of the choices in it have been removed. So, there's a point where he's the main character, who is you.
Right. Y/N.
Yeah. You're asked, who is your favorite Greek god? And in the published chapters, it's just blank. But if you were actually playing through it, you would have chosen who your favorite was. Or, there's a point where you're asked, what's your phobia? Do you have any phobias? And that's a choice that's automatically made for you in the published version. But in the app, you would choose which of the things scared you the most, and then that thing would come to get you later in the book, or later in the app. Sort of like Until Dawn.
That's really cool. Because there are a couple points where I saw questions reading through these where I was like, this seems like this is going to be a choose my own adventure time. And then it just wasn't.
No.
Although it sounds like those are more for, like, the personality quiz part of it than, like, the...
That's yeah. And we weren't able to do that playing through it this time.
Do you remember what yours was when you played through it?
Oh, so I had never finished this app back in the day because the first chapter was free, but every chapter after that you had to pay $3 for.
That seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, this is the reason the app doesn't exist anymore. It's because you had to pay $3 for a chapter every time you wanted to keep playing.
I was thinking, so because we were joking about this being like a Pottermore response, but honestly, I think this is a Kim Kardashian game response. Like,
was the Kim Kardashian game out in 2014?
I think it really got big. Oh my god, the Kim Kardashian Hollywood game was released on June 24th, 2014.
Oh, and this came out August 7th, 2014.
I mean, it takes a while to develop an app and write short stories.
No.
I mean, honestly, how complicated was the coding on this? Like, it's basically a personality quiz.
It was basically an overcomplicated personality quiz. So in order to replicate the experience of playing through this app, we're going to be discussing these 4 published chapters, and then we've each created Godly Parent personality quizzes for the other person to take.
Yeah.
Which, if you'd like to play along with those, we'll have those quizzes linked in the description of the episode.
We'll also summarize what happens in these short stories, because I know they're kind of hard to track down. So don't worry if you haven't read them, we got you. Don't worry.
All right. Chapter 1, or I guess story 1. It's a chapter. My Two-Headed Guidance Counselor. We begin by meeting the player character, which in the app would have been us and whatever name we were randomly assigned, but in the published version, it's a kid named Zane Carver.
It's very 2015. Very 2015 of them.
And he is about to take a pop quiz, but just as he starts it, he is called to the office over the intercom. And on our way to the office, we learn a couple of things about ourselves. We learn that we are often called to the office because we are trouble. We were recently at the aquarium and a sea otter jumped out of the enclosure and into the shark tank trying to get away from us because it was just so scared of us.
Which is... yeah.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So for me, like, I felt like over the course of this whole adventure, I was keeping an eye out, because the central mystery that's sort of posed by these stories is, who is your godly parent? We'll find out, like, do a quest and find out. And that's sort of how they keep you hooked. So obviously the discerning demigod is reading them, like, let's look for signs, like, what's going on in our lives that give us clues. And so that's one of them.
Yeah,
but,
like, I was like, well, your immediate instinct, because you're like, oh, aquarium, Poseidon, but then you're like, sea otters aren't going to be scared of a Poseidon kid.
Yeah, it's like, it's giving Percy Jackson a little, but not really.
Yeah. Which god do we think sea otters are afraid of?
Zeus? I don't know.
Right, because lightning, electrocution in the water.
Yeah, I think there's also signs, like, there's, like, quaking in a chemistry lab. There's, like, a flash of lightning across the sky. There's, like, the person that he can sing, apparently. He's not a bad singer.
He's got that coin with a tree on it.
Yeah, he's got a coin with a tree. Yeah, there's a lot of options. It casts a wide net. Like, this kid could be anyone's kid. And also, helpfully, we find out that they've got both their parents and is probably adopted.
Right,
so there's no clue in gendered parentage here.
That was interesting to me. That comes in, like, the second short story, I think, but, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen an adopted demigod before, unless I'm forgetting someone.
But it seems like the parents are informed, though. Like, that was something else that came up. I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves. I do enjoy a scene, though, of the satyr protector, like, Grover stand-in, because named Sam Greenwood.
Yeah. I love Sam. I will get to it, but I'm obsessed with Sam. So we head to the principal's office. Something feels off, though. We are seeing things in the hallways. And when we get there, instead of seeing the principal, we are brought to the guidance counselor, someone we've never met before, Big red flag if you're a Percy Jackson fan.
Yeah, and things also keep turning red, so there's a lot of red flags happening.
Mm-hmm. And so she asks us a couple of questions that we would have answered in the app, but instead they're answered for us. Like, what's your favorite class? Which Zane answers math to, and I was like, immediately, this story is not for
This
me.
is not about me.
This is not about me. I can't project onto this kid anymore. She asks, would you describe yourself as happy or discontented?
That's a wild question to put in this app for a personality quiz, by the way. I feel like we need to make this version of the quiz.
She asks if we have any phobias. I actually have the options for the phobia question.
Oh.
One of the screenshots of, like, the previews of the app that you used to be able to see in the App Store, I found one of them. The answer that Zane gives is rats. But the other options were, I don't know if it's a phobia, but I have really bad indoor allergies, so I kind of freak out around dust and mold. Relatable. I mean, that's the one I would pick. The third one is, I do not like heights at all. And the fourth one is, I get really anxious in tight spaces. So which would you have picked?
I'm sorry, the dust one is that's a phobia? That's an allergy.
Well, he says, I don't know if it's a phobia.
God. I will say, there's one moment in this app that, like, my jaw went to the floor later for a choice, but this one gets close, honestly. That's really funny. I'd pick rats, probably. Like, I'm not afraid of rats, but, like, a lot of rats? I'd probably pick rats. Wait, how does the heights thing come later?
I don't know. After we run through these questions, we are told that last week we called the police because there was the earthquake in the chemistry lab.
Yeah.
Which, crucially, we used our friend's cell phone because we aren't allowed to have one.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time that we've seen, like, the consequences of a demigod using a cell phone.
I know.
It's funny that it lives in, like, the long-forgotten app. The one example we can use of cell phones attracting monsters.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is how they found us.
And they, it turns out, are two leontes, which is just the Greek word for lion. They're just lions.
They're just lions.
Well, at first we don't realize there's two of them. There's one. And that's why she has two heads, as she turns into a lion. But apparently they're the children of Atalanta, and like Atalanta and Hippomenes, her husband, they made fun of Aphrodite and they didn't give enough sacrifices to Aphrodite on their wedding day, so they got turned into lions, and now all their children are lions. So they're like special lions.
In the myth, are they special lions, or are they just lions?
I think they're just lions. So the leonte attacks us, and we're able to use our family heirloom, which is a coin. And I'm trying to think about this in terms of, like, okay, why a coin with a tree on one side and a worn face on the other? Well, because I'm just thinking, I don't want to give away our result. I'll keep y'all in suspense. I'll preserve the mystery to keep you experiencing this with us. But this does relate a lot to the one that Zane ends up with.
Mm-hmm. But this early in the story, they couldn't have known that was what they were going to give him.
No, exactly. So I'm like, but then I'm sitting here and I'm like, I could think of actually, like, several gods that this could, like, correlate to. Like, off the top of my head, all of the ones that this could make the most sense for, it's like Zeus, Demeter, Athena, maybe Apollo. I could see Apollo. Because they never tell you what kind of tree. That's the thing.
Yeah. But what the coin does is it melts in our hand to the floor where a tree sprouts. And the branches, like, wrap around the guidance counselor and kill her. Mm-hmm. Which is cool.
Yeah, I like the tree a lot. That's like, isn't there there's a D&D item that's like a staff that you plant and it turns into a tree? I like that.
So at this point, our friend Sam comes running in. Sam is our protector. Like we said, he's a satyr. And we love him. And, he tells us to run, and so we do. And that's sort of where the first one ends. You don't really make any choices in this one.
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 2, The Library of Deadly Weapons. As we run, Sam gives us the You're a Demigod speech. And it's mostly stuff we know. But this is also where we learned that Gaia is rising.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we can skip to essentially our first choice that we're given, which is that Sam tells us that there is a safe house in the old library, the old abandoned library. He says, monsters hate the place. I've stored some supplies there for emergencies. If we can get inside, we can at least get you a weapon and maybe some advice from the gods. Which I'm sure you also thought, oh, that's kind of like the temples in the TV show.
Yeah.
Places where monsters won't enter and where you can get in touch with the gods. And that we later learn are sacred to a specific god. It was funny to me that it exists sort of in the universe. In the Percy Jackson universe, but only if you paid $3 to read this one.
Oh, because you don't get any choices until you pay, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you get choices, as in, like, the phobia question and all that, but nothing that branches your story anywhere. But, so we're trying to get to the library, but there are a couple of ways to get to the library, and so we're presented with our first choice.
Go through the woods, go across a bridge, or go on the road.
So what choice would you have made if you...
I would have picked the bridge.
I chose bridge.
Ah.
I was trying to make these choices, like, thinking realistically without my knowledge of Percy Jackson or without knowing that I'm in the Percy Jackson universe. If I were in this situation, what would I do? And so I chose bridge.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to try and like trek across the river, and hitchhiking just sounded like a bad idea. And I was like, I can figure out a way to get across with the bridge.
I like the bridge chapter. That's my favorite. You'll be interested to hear where some of these other ones go, though. Why don't you talk about the bridge? I'll talk about the other two options. Okay.
So the bridge chapter was, essentially the bridge was unusable in its current state. But our main character, our player character, is very quick. He's smart. So he figures out how to craft a sort of makeshift bridge using what's left of the old bridge and some branches. He basically tries to use their weight to their advantage and like balance them. It was interesting. It was a resourceful
it was crafty.
And so Zane, or we are able to cross very easily. But Sam, as Sam is crossing, a lion shows up. And so Sam gets nervous and branches start cracking under him. And there's this very sweet moment that I made a note of. Sam is having trouble crossing. He says that he can't do it. And we, or Zane, say to him, "You can do it, Sam. Remember the time I fell off Parker's roof and you carried me all the way home? You kept saying, 1 more step, 1 more step. Remember? Do the same thing, okay? 1 more step." And that becomes like a little mantra for them through the rest of the stories. And I was like, I'm attached to these two. There's just, their relationship is very sweet. It's very
supportive.
It's very supportive. They've been through a lot together in like their regular mundane lives. And yeah, I guess supportive is the word, because there's also the moment later when they're trying to get through the rats and like Sam has Zane stand behind him and like hold onto his backpack while they walk through them. They're always watching out for each other, and I don't know, I just like them. I like them.
Yeah,
I wish they showed up anywhere else.
So, if you chose the woods, we're running through. At one point, you tripped and fell in a ravine, and Sam is like, "This was maybe not the best choice," is said to you. So you're made aware of the fact that you chose poorly. But you ultimately still make it to the library. Now, if you pick hitchhiking, this is where it gets a little interesting. You go up to the road, a car zooms past you, and it's like a red convertible with just like a 30-year-old guy in it. And you never find out definitively who this guy is, but there's like a part of me that's like,
that sounds like Apollo.
Like there's this, I feel like almost every like character you run into is like kind of a cameo. So it could have been Apollo, which I think would have been really funny.
Personality was he giving Apollo?
Yeah, for sure. Like he didn't like really talk much. It just like zoom by. Like there's a couple times where they're basically, they managed to stop them. And they're like, "Please let us in." And then, unlike with Percy Jackson, like, it doesn't work. Like, they're just like, "No, And then you get a second choice page, which is, all right, now what? Do we go through the woods, the bridge, or stay on the road? And if you go to the woods and the bridge, it's the same chapters.
Yeah.
But if you stay on the road, one last person zooms by. And it is the god Eleos, the god of mercy, who basically comes in and says, hey, buddy, you did not choose right. He's like, hey, guys, I'm going to strongly advise you, go to the woods or the bridge. This is your first and only time I'm going to help you out.
That's so annoying. I like this because it reminds me, it's sort of a parallel to the story we learn about the couple in the diner in the next chapter, which is fun. But I just think that in a choose-your-own-adventure, you should be able to choose your adventure.
Yeah.
And shouldn't get told you made the wrong choice. Did you ever play through the Black Mirror Bandersnatch Choose-Your-Own-Adventure story on Netflix?
No.
That was another one that kind of made me mad.
It's railroading.
It was definitely railroading. We're like, especially with the Bandersnatch one, because it was like there was a grade that you got at the end of how good of a job you did at doing the adventure. And that's just not how it should be. It should be like there are several adventures you could have gone on, and there wasn't specifically a right choice or a wrong choice. But a lot of these just have the one adventure you're supposed to be on, and when you don't go on it, it says, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it like lets you do a little wiggle way, but you kind of always end up in the same spot, which is the library, which is like such a temple. Like this library's got like marble floors. Like, the books are all still there, but, like, some have been used as kindling. There's, like, a fire pit. I was like, this is giving Library Mount Olympus.
Yeah. And the goddess, who's, like, the protector of this place, it says it's pronounced Mnemosyne. Is it actually pronounced?
Yeah.
Right.
I would say Mnemosyne, but Mnemosyne. There.
It says that libraries are sacred to her.
Goddess of memory.
Her spirit is strong here. She protects this place. And she's also, it says, one of the early Titan deities, one of the good Titans. She's the mother of the 9 muses.
Mm-hmm. Which also makes sense for why libraries are sacred to her. I mean, we already talked a little bit about her when we talked about the Dark Prophecy, because the Mnemosyne, as you might remember, is the River of Remembering. So it seems like she's tied up in a couple different cults in the ancient Greek world to essentially help you remember your visions that you're about to have while you partake in other activities of the cult. But she's also invoked by Homer in the Iliad and the Odyssey for remembering the story. So, like, her kind of being invoked as a, like, remember the tale, remember the story type vibe, I feel like tracks as well for the library.
And isn't this the chapter where we start thinking about our player character as a hero?
Yeah.
I think this is the chapter where that first starts being brought up.
Yeah, I think Mnemosyne gives him that idea, right? Or gives us the idea where it's like, no, you're a hero. You're supposed to, like, do great deeds and do all this stuff.
Storytelling's here. Memory is here. How you're going to be remembered is here.
I was thinking this is concurrent with Heroes of Olympus. Memory is a big thing over there. It's like, we get to be at the altar of the goddess of memory. When poor Jason and Percy, they wish they'd found this place.
There's a part later, like way later, I think in the 3rd chapter, in the Libertas conversation, that might come back to this. I guess we'll get there, I guess. But yeah, so the lions appear again.
Well, one of the one lion, the mate.
The one lion, yes. And so we're given another choice, which is to try to outwit the lion or to hit it with a sword. And so because I'm trying to realistically think of what I would do in these situations, I went for sword just because, like, if it weren't an active threat, maybe I'd go for outwitting it, but it was literally, like, coming at us, and I was like, I can't think that fast. I would probably just grab something and try to keep it away from me. And so I went for sword, which it turns out means that you failed to get the sword and Sam gets the sword, which I thought was funny.
It's like a sword with, like, a glowing, like, blue-green gem in the pommel, too.
Yeah. What happens if you try to outwit it? That's probably more complicated.
That's the correct answer, actually,
all right.
is what they tell you. It plays out almost the same. You outwit it by tricking the lion, where you're like, oh yeah, your partner was asking us a bunch of riddles. And then the lion's like, that's the Sphinx. That's definitely not what she was doing. And you're like, no, she was though. And then you basically like, let me ask you a riddle. And basically what you're doing is you're buying time while Sam grabs the sword and like is able to get it. So like Sam still has the sword.
Good for him. He deserves it.
So, like, it's, like, trickery, but you still...
Yeah.
It's, like, to get to the sword. Yeah. So you don't really outwit him, you know?
So really going for the sword first was the correct choice.
No, because it's one of those things where when you're trying to outwit it, it's like, this was the right choice. or no, I think it's when you go for the sword, you think to yourself, this was the wrong choice. I would have picked go for the sword, too, for the same reason you did. So far we have the same fucking answers.
I was like... Outwitting is the obvious correct. I knew it was the correct choice because I was like, this is the Percy Jackson Choose-Your-Own-Adventure app. You're supposed to try and outwit things before you come at them with your sword. But I was trying to be realistic with myself.
But then, once you defeat the lion, the Leonte, Mnemosyne comes down. And she gives you this whole spiel about if you want to find your godly parent, you have to find a guy named Barton in Austin, Texas. He's a river god. Yeah, she just talks about, like, being a hero and all of this stuff, and,
nothing important.
This whole time, Sam's, like, catching strays, too, because basically everyone keeps being like, oh, yeah, and Sam's only a satyr. He's not a real hero.
Yeah, Hades' line later, I was like, leave him alone. She says, you did me a service cleansing this place of the monster's filth. Once this was a holy site of learning, reading, and free internet. Alas, the mortals consider such things of little value. You, my young hero, have many adventures ahead of you. Your quest will be remembered for centuries, written about in many books, assuming, of course, you survive. To aid in your journey, I offer you a gift. It is fun that she's saying you'll be written about in many books, and we're literally, like, basically writing the book as we read it. And then she offers us an old library card, a battered pair of glasses, and a small section of white cloth.
Wait a minute.
Yes?
Those never came back.
I think the library card.
No, you try to use the library card, and it doesn't work, and it never comes back.
It was for later. It was for a later short story.
I'm assuming that was a choice you actually got.
I'm assuming that this was a choice, yeah. So I think I probably, when I read it, I was like, oh, I would go with glasses. When it's going to ask me, I'm going to pick glasses. And then it didn't ask me. So we went with library card.
I probably would have gone library card.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, white cloth, it's like for surrender. I'm not taking that. Glasses, I've got contacts already.
I was thinking glasses, like, maybe I'll be able to see something that I wouldn't have been able to see. You know, like, maybe it's not glasses... like real glasses, it like helps you see things in the mythological world.
Maybe it's a Hecate Easter egg. Maybe
these are Sally Jackson's glasses. But yeah, Zane is a nerd, so he chooses a library card.
Yeah, Zane's a pretty big nerd.
And we're told to head to Austin, Texas, and I think that's
the end of the story. Yeah,
that's kind of it.
Like, go to Austin. You get one choice.
Oh, yeah. Go to Austin is a linked choice. It's the only one on the page.
So we do. And the third story is titled The Demon Satyr Tea Party. We arrive in Austin and go to a restaurant called Xenia. And I was already cracking my knuckles like, all right, let's talk about the Greek values of xenia. And then Sam does it for me, so I don't even need to write up a whole history lecture. Xenia literally means, it's like where we get the word like xenophobic from. It's like the outsiders. But specifically in ancient Greek, like as a value that you get taught, it's sort of like the idea of hospitality and always like taking strangers into your home and treating them well. And Sam tells this story about how Zeus and Hermes one time did an experiment to see how nice humans were, and they went around to all these rich people, and none of them all of them turned them away from their homes, and finally they found this really poor couple named Baucis and Philemon, who, even though they had nothing, took them in and gave them a meal. and demonstrated that great value of xenia. Thus, Zeus and Hermes rewarded them by giving them a pitcher that was never empty and food that never... Like, you basically give them all these great gifts of wealth. So Sam remarks that the names of the people working this place that offers unlimited free refills, it's these guys, for sure. But he does seem to be right.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that as like a little neat Easter egg of like, it's not all the evil people that are brought back in the Heroes of Olympus stuff. It's just some like chill people sometimes, you know, like forgotten in myth, coming back, just being nice, just throwing a little bit of magic into the world. Like, I kind of enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. So we have to figure out the best way to get to Barton Springs Pool to see the river god Barton. But to get there, we have to cross the Congress Avenue Bridge, under which live cannibalistic satyrs.
Ethiopian satyrs.
Yeah. So we're given our next choice. We have to choose what the best way to get to the pool is.
There were two options. It was either we take a bus or you walk.
I took the bus.
Oh, that was the good option.
It was the very funny option.
I don't think the bus is like the correct option, but the walk... Like, I think the walk, like, is pretty uneventful. You just walk over there. And then you walk past the fountain and the Statue of Columbia, and you just kind of get right to business. The bus is a much more fun detour, though.
That's surprising to me, because you'd think things would happen to you out in the open.
No.
That's why I chose the bus, because I was like, I want to be protected. I want to be going fast.
I would have walked. I think I would have chosen walking, just because I'm like, this is a Percy Jackson book. They never ride a bus to their destination.
I'm trying not to think about being in a Percy Jackson book. I'm trying to be realistic with myself and know that I would choose the bus.
The walk's pretty uneventful. What about the bus?
The bus is full of frat boys. That's a bunch of frat guys heading to the big game. And they assume that we are their new pledges.
But we also meet Bacchus?
Maybe.
I think it's him, because Sam's like, oh, he's Roman, though. That's a little weird.
So this bus, we also have to kind of talk our way out of the bus, because we're not going to the game and need to be dropped off at this pool, or this park, or wherever, where we meet Barton.
So do you not meet Columbia, the statue? Do you not see the statue before you get to the...
I think at least if you make the bus choice, I think you go to the pool first and then the statue.
So if you don't choose the bus, you get a lovely description of the Statue of Columbia and a slight hint that Columbia is like the Greek America goddess, and then like Libertas, the Roman one, came over as the Statue of Liberty. Which, again, deeply interesting to me, because it gives us a date and time for these kinds of transitions. But apparently Columbia and Libertas have beef, so...
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of lines from this section. Libertas got herself an island right outside the most powerful city in America where she can keep an eye on things. After that, the old symbol of liberty, Columbia, kind of faded from the scene. Sort of like the gods do when other gods kind of take their place as symbols. I just liked the way that it was sort of baked into American culture also. That it was using, like, things that happened in American history.
I'm also looking this up. This is interesting. Okay, so she is seen in European art from the 16th century onwards, reflecting the tropical regions in South and Central America, from which the earliest European travelers reported back. So Columbia is like the personification, I mean, name aside, she's like the personification of the, like, indigenous Americas depicted in European art. This is actually kind of a really interesting figure then, made canon, because she's not like a Greek goddess.
Yeah.
So it's like she almost became incorporated into this pantheon. So in a way, she's like a representative of like a pre-colonial or peri-colonial time. And then to be taken over by Libertas, which would be the Statue of Liberty, which was given to America in the 1800s by France. Very Roman symbol.
This statue also has a quote engraved into it that I wrote down. It says, "A short life hath been given by nature unto man, but the remembrance of a life laid down in a good cause endureth forever." And this is the line that I was referencing earlier that I thought might come back to the memory conversation and the storytelling conversation because Sam, after reading it, says, I wouldn't mind my life being remembered forever, dying for a good cause.
So we go to the river god, and at first, this is actually really funny. You go up to just we're like, all right, let's find a god. And they just go up to the hottest guy they see. Yeah. And this is something I do. I'm glad this happens at least once somewhere canonically in Percy Jackson, where they're like, that person, they're too, like, hot and out of place. They've got to be a god. And they just go up to them and they're like, hey, you're a god, right? And it's just a normal person. So there's a funny bit where he's like, oh, I beseech you. Or you're like, oh, I beseech you, God. And then some other guy is like, what are you doing? That's not a god. Get over here. And then they go, and it's just like a less conventionally attractive person. He's like, no, I'm the river god. What are you doing? And thus they find Barton, whose Greek name is Brikon. The Brikon and Barton connection also is interesting to me because it had me thinking, like, how does this transition go for all of the, like, nature gods and spirits who are all, like, kind of get tied to one specific location? Because, like, they're all named after the places that they previously were custodians of in the ancient world, and it seems like a lot of them have just, like, kind of moved over. So it's like, is this a new aspect of them that's just in America? And, like, did they just get randomly assigned based on how close the names sounded? Like, were you in Greece one day and then you just ended up in Texas and you're like, okay, I guess I live here now.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder. It's like the Columbia thing where I'm like, that's so interesting. How does this work in the world building? Did she just show up one day and was like, hey, I'm the Greco-Roman personification of a world that these gods have never heard of. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we go up to him and we're like, hey, Mnemosyne told us that you could tell me who my godly parent is. And he's like, no, I definitely can't do that. She just said to find me. And you're like, that is correct. And he's like, great. Can you take care of this issue for me? And he wants you to take care of the cannibal satyrs. And so Sam has to face his fear. At which point, if you chose the bus, you go over to the Columbia statue.
Yeah.
But if you chose to walk, then you end up running back into the statue, and it turns out the statue's alive. And Sam recounts his last encounter with one of them, where he describes running away from them into a food cart, and then you sort of come to the realization that sweet tea seems to be the weakness of these satyrs. So you concoct a plan similar to the myth where basically they decide to fill Columbia's pool with sweet tea, and you essentially need to trick them into drinking. So it presented another choice, which was fighting or trickery.
I chose trickery this time because I feel like I would need a real plan.
Yeah.
And we hadn't been spotted at that point, so. But it turns out, like, outsmarting them is just, like, covering yourself in Dorito dust and claiming the fountain for yourself. And being like, please don't drink from my fountain. I can't bear to see you drink from my fountain. And so they drink from the fountain.
Meanwhile, the fighting is, like, again, it's Percy Jackson, the wrong choice, but you sort of end up, like, kind of fighting and then having to fall back. Sam goes down, you go down, you pass out, and then Elios comes out and is like, hey, I told you used your mulligan already, but I lied. Here's your second mulligan, and brings him back, and then you and Sam are just running away. So unclear what happens to the satyrs if you choose fighting.
Yeah, I mean, reading this might be the godly parent interfering. That's kind of what I'm getting.
Or it might be the godly parent. I thought it was Elios, but maybe it's your godly parent.
Once we get under the bridge, we find, like, a glowing McDonald's box.
Yeah.
And inside we find a ring, like a wooden ring. And that's our, like, magical item that we've been seeking this story. Did make me think of Nico.
Yeah, McDonald's box.
And Hades will be relevant to the next story, so... Our fourth story. And our last story. My personal zombie apocalypse. So we take the train down to New Orleans. We cross a bridge that's haunted, which is cool. We see ghosts.
Yeah, zombies and ghosts, baby. Again, another theme. The dead returning. I'm just saying, this is like a microcosm of the Heroes of Olympus themes, right? We've got memory loss, we've got the return of the dead, and we've got gods asking you for silly side quests. That's Hero of Olympus.
Have you ever really wanted to experience what it was like to be in Heroes of Olympus? Not Percy Jackson, but Heroes of Olympus. So anyway, we get to New Orleans, we head to Café du Monde for beignets, and that's where we meet Hades. And this moment felt like an immediate, this is not your dad. So I wondered if Hades was an option in the app, or if
I feel like the big three was probably not an option, if I had to guess.
No Poseidon or Zeus either?
I don't know.
I figured maybe it was like just the Olympians, so no Hades.
Yeah, maybe.
He's talking about your parent like they're a separate person. So, yeah, but we're told that we're dealing with the Mormo, a rogue spirit who can raise the dead and summon demons and also turn people into zombies by biting them, which he's apparently already done to 5 demigods who have come to do this quest. Is this a real thing? Who's the Mormo?
Well, so I looked up the Mormo. She's apparently a woman in Greek mythology who ate her kids.
Oh, cool.
And I was just thinking to myself, oh, kind of like Lamia. And then it says she is often equated with Lamia. So I was like, yes. And that's really the only information that's about her. But I was sitting here like, oh, fun, Lamia. So then I'm like, wait, the cell phone call back? Like, did someone reread Son of Magic right before writing this? Like, Son of Magic, I feel its presence in this, in the tone. I think it's also like the taking advantage of the little moments of like, what would happen if, like, what happens if the guy you talk to isn't the god you're looking for? Like, what would happen if... Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. So yeah, it's just sort of like, again, this... I feel like it's very like Tyrant's Tombie, too, of like the restless souls, the the unresolved things that come from the dead.
Yeah. But to defeat him, we have to capture him inside of a Pythos. And at one point... we say to Hades, what do we need to do? And Hades says, what do you need to do? You're the hero. Sam is just a lowly satyr. And I was like, okay. Rude?
Yeah, poor
For
Sam.
no reason.
I feel like the point is to make you, the reader, be like, hey, right?
Oh, so we're supposed to be angered by the gods so that by story 47, we can turn on them.
Were there supposed to be more? Are you just...
I don't know. I assume if this app had been successful, there would have been more short stories.
Oh.
And like
so
more of a resolution.
Okay.
Since it kind of... I mean, it's a resolution that you get to know who your godly parent is in the end, but like, I feel like you probably want to go to camp. You want to have a fun tie-in short story where you like run into a character you know. Like, I think that if this app had actually taken off, there would have been more stories. So maybe this was setting up the resentment at the gods that you have to feel so that you can make the ultimate choice of turn on the gods or not at some point in the story.
That's a very good point. Because we want the full Percy Jackson experience.
Right. Like, if I'm trying to be in Percy Jackson, I need the option of joining the Titan army or not. Anyway, so we're told to be at Preservation Hall by 8 to get the Pythos. But we don't have the money, so we're told to make a choice of how to get the money. I chose magic.
I need you all to understand, like, you know, have they been railroaded choices? Yes, up until this point. But have they been important choices in the direction of the story? Yeah, for the most part. Like, they have taken me on different paths. And then I get to the one actual choice in this short story, which is, how do you busk for the money? Yeah. It's like magic. Juggling and being a statue.
Oh yeah,
a human statue. So I would have picked magic too, but I read all.
I figured like I had a magic phase as a child. I probably remember a trick or two. I can't juggle, and I don't want to be a statue, so I'll do magic tricks. So I did magic tricks. It's not an exciting moment in the story. We can keep moving.
No, you go to some guy with tarot cards, he gives you a card, blah, 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 blah. What I did find deeply funny was none of these are exactly the wrong choice, but there is a tier ranking in the canon of which one is the best choice to make.
Oh, do you make more money from one or something?
Yeah. You make slightly more money from one versus another, and it's really funny because you need like $80, I think. So if you choose magic, you make like basically right on the money, exactly $80. If you choose being a statue, you're like really bad at it, and you like remember after a few minutes that like nobody knows what you're supposed to be without a sign, so then you have to go like make a sign, but it's a bad sign. And so that one's the worst. You almost make enough money, and then Sam briefly breakdances to make the rest of it up. And then the last option is juggling. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Zane can juggle? That's pretty cool. No! You can't juggle at the beginning, but you go through a whole montage where you teach yourself how to juggle with fruit from a fruit cart. And at first, you're having a hard time, but then you win the crowd, and it's glorious, and you really learn how to juggle and teach yourself in the span of, like, an hour, how long this is. And it's a whole moment where everyone's, like, on your side, and you're juggling, and you make so much money, Phoebe.
What an uplifting tale.
And it's just like, of all of the choices, that's the right one? You don't even know how to juggle! Anyway, the lesson of this story, I guess, is you can do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah.
You make the money, and then there's the pithos is just someone's drum at the hall, and then you just kind of take it.
Not just anyone. Lou Garou. Which is pretty funny.
You get the pithos, you go to the graveyard, then there's a graveyard fight. Mormo's a dude. Which is disappointing to me. He's just a guy.
Right. And he comes with, like, he's got his army of zombies and also these, like, little demons that love to destroy pottery. And so he's tough to beat. We're fighting him for a bit until Sam, like, pulls us aside and says, like, you need to use your powers. And we're like, I don't have powers. I don't know what they are. And he's like, just, like, feel for them. Does it feel like do you feel their presence as, like, an internal presence or an external? Well, it was an interesting way of, like, talking about your powers and, like, where they are stemming from. Because, like, you think about Percy and you'd think that would be an external thing, but he always reaches, like, inside of him to get them.
To get it.
It made me wonder if it really was as simple as, like, you're reaching into your brain and you're, like, you're a Hephaestus kid, an Athena kid, you're reaching into your own abilities.
Or, like, Aphrodite kid.
Or an Aphrodite kid versus, like, oh, I can move the ground, I can summon lightning or something like that. I think that's what it's going for, but I was also like, Percy's powers are an internal thing, it feels like, often. Yeah. Anyway, I chose internal because I think I would rely on myself more than I would on being able to do anything magical around me.
I think I would have chosen external because those are the cool powers.
Yeah. See, I thought about that and then I was like, no, I have to be real about this.
But that's fine because the correct answer is internal.
Good.
And then we find out what Zane's power is internally.
He's just smart.
No, it's speed.
Oh, is that what it's supposed to be?
That's what they say. They say speed is your power. It says speed. It's italicized and everything. Which tickled me a little because I was like, speed could still be anybody. But then I had a moment where I was like, Thetis? Because Achilles' main epithet is swift-footed, or Thos is swift-footed Achilles. So I was like, wait, he's obsessed with having his story told for generations and he's swift-footed. This is Achilles. That's like the two defining things about Achilles. Zane is actually the real Achilles the whole time. Step aside, Lucas.
I think that you interpreted this line differently from what I interpreted it as. Because to me, it felt like he was, he's thinking through his options. And then this is like a moment of, like, battle strategy, essentially. Oh. Because he thinks to himself, speed, italicized, is their advantage over these guys. Both of their advantage. Because they're zombies and they can barely move.
Oh, I see. So speed is how you defeat them, not his power. Which would make sense on account of the fact that he doesn't seem particularly fast. I had a moment where I was like, are we going to go into a, like, oh god, what's his name? Quicksilver montage here?
No, he says, we split up and run to opposite sides of the cemetery. Half will follow you, half will follow me. We meet back in the middle in 5 minutes, and that'll buy us enough time to get the Mormo into the Pithos. Because they'll be, like, so far behind them that, like, they'll have their moment alone without all of these things protecting Mormo.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So that was how I interpreted it.
I got excited about the Achilles connection. That's what happened.
Right.
I got blinded by it. We go about getting everyone isolated, and then we put on the ring. And it turns out the ring is a shrinking ring. So using the ring and confusing the zombies, they're able to get Mormo in the jar. But it turns out fight's not over because of the jar smashing demons.
Right. How could we forget?
And then the 5 prior demigods all healed up. Because at one point we did run into some of them as zombies. They all seem pretty cool. Like, pretty fly. Like, there's one with the discus. There's like a bunch of really cool demigods we've never met before that don't seem to resemble anyone we know.
Yeah.
They all come and help us defeat the demons. And then we get claimed!
So the last moments of this story are our godly parent officially showing up. And that is Athena for Zane.
Which makes sense, because his powers are speed of thought, I guess. Also, the tree coin makes sense, because Athena grew an olive tree on the Acropolis.
Yep. Overall, I feel like since the correct choice for him specifically has been outsmart every time.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense. And there's a cute line where she says, she's very, like, not the Athena that we know in Heroes of Olympus.
No. I mean, this is not the Hades we know either. This guy, I don't know who he is.
These guys are barely holding it together is the issue. That's the problem. Is that Hades is, like, holding it together for long enough that he can say these things.
They're not even supposed to be talking to anybody right now. That's, like, a whole thing.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But Athena shows up and is very like, I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
At one point she says, I accept all of the choices of my children. And I was like, sure, of course, Athena.
I don't think she does, but all right.
But there's a line where she says, I am proud to call you my son. And Zane says, well, you have 2 new children. Sam is going with me everywhere from here on out. And I was like, you too. I love them. They're my new faves, and they'll never show up again. This is the end of them. The end of these stories, the last sentence is, for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged, and I was ready for whatever came next. And nothing came next. So, I think, yeah. Anyway, so those are the short stories.
So now should we move on to the next phase of our app recreation?
All right, since at this point in the story, we would have been told our godly parent. We're now going to take each other's cabin quizzes, along with maybe using a random name generator.
I just think that'd be kind of funny. I'm going to generate it. You're going to go with me?
Yes.
Ready? Go. Oh!
Oh, I don't even know how to say that.
What's the country of origin?
Scotland.
Oh, you got a Scottish name. I got an Italian name.
Wow. Oh, how the tables have turned.
Is your dad's heritage at all Scottish?
No. This last name looks Italian. I think I'm Scottish-Italian in this universe. And also my birthday is September 3rd, 1995.
I'm 10 months old, though. My birthday is April 2nd.
Ooh, they give you your death date. They give you your death date and cause of death. Anyway, what's your name?
My name is, I don't know how to pronounce the Italian C. Is it Chelsea?
Depends on the letter that follows it.
C-E. Or Celsa? Chelsea?
No, it
Chelsea.
wouldn't be that, yeah.
Chelsea Padmore is my name. Padmore. What's Padmore? Or Padmore? I don't know. And you?
My name? Edwin Abatashani?
Copy it?
It's spelled... Yeah, here, I'm gonna put this in the chat, what I just got.
Oh, yeah, that's very That's Irish.
Well, it says Scottish. I thought Irish also, but...
Staring at it? You should put this into Google. But my first instinct is that's Aiden.
Let's see. How to pronounce. All of the results are about it being Irish. I think this website's just wrong. Aideen. Aideen. I'm Irish-Italian. This is the universe where my dad also married an Irish-Italian. Anyway, to the quizzes.
So, okay, I'm going to take Phoebe's quiz.
Yeah, you have taken a sort of version of this quiz because I used questions that I've used before, plus some new ones.
Cool.
Here, I'll take it at the same time as you so I can follow along. I will say, disclaimer before everyone takes my quiz. It's not good. I have taken it probably 20 times at this point and have not managed to get Hades, which is who I think I would be a child of. I've gotten so many different results and none of them Hades. And so really this quiz is just like for vibes. It's for fun. Or really I'm not a child of Hades and the quiz gods are trying to tell me something through my quiz.
I feel like, well, I'm curious what results you get from my quiz. My quiz is half the length of Phoebe's, though, and it's because it's really hard to come up with questions for this that aren't, like, obviously, like, what... Like, you know, it's just really hard to come up with ones where people, like, can't tell which answers correspond to which... Because I don't want bias.
I had the opposite issue where I kept coming up with questions and then getting to the point where I had to, like, assign gods to the answers, and then I was like, this tells me nothing. Like, at one point there was a question here that was like, thoughts on The Last Jedi? And it was just like, it's good, it's bad, nuance answer, but ultimately it's bad. Nuance answer, but ultimately it's good. I don't care about Star Wars. And then, like, I was trying to assign that, and I was like, this doesn't tell me anything.
Well, because I was sitting there, too, like, trying to figure out what the heck a child of Tyche's, like, what is a child of Tyche? Because I'm not thinking, like, what god it is. It's like, what is a child of this god? You know what I mean? Like, I got two in it.
For Tyche, I kind of went with, like, chaos answers. I just feel like a child of Tyche who's, like, so lucky that they can do whatever they want would just put a lot of chaos into their quiz answers.
Okay. I'm gonna take Phoebe's quiz. Kleos or Nestos? I have a similar question. Oh, yep, I've seen the Nightmares question before. An iconic one, as always.
I had to include it.
These are good questions, though.
Thank you.
What is objectively the best PJO book? Be honest with yourself. Battle of the Labyrinth, obviously. Which heroes is objectively the best? So I asked which was your favorite.
I didn't want your favorite.
Objectively the best is a different answer. Yeah, this is where Son of Neptune might edge out House of Hades.
See, this is where I feel like maybe House of Hades is edging out Son of Neptune.
No, yeah, actually, no. House of Hades and Son of Neptune. I'm just thinking on a structural level, but I think...
On a structural... Like, I think that the Son of Neptune is probably... Like, the construction of Son of Neptune is probably better.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, what am I naturally good at? Not what I enjoy most, but what comes easily to me. Okay. Like, the obvious choice is storytelling. But I am also very good at talking, taking tests, and games. I feel like storytelling, though. Like, that's what makes me good at talking. And I'm not good at video games. Okay. Oh, thank you. Fine, you're allowed to be good at two things. Pick another thing that comes naturally to you. I'm going to say taking charge of things, actually, because I am quite good at that. Pick an evolution. Oh, boy. Am I picking them for, like, how cool they are, or for, like, which one is me?
Just pick one.
Leafeon aesthetically is so pretty, but Umbreon is kind of... She's the ultimate. Oh, wow. How did you make your last choice? I'm going to go with the vibes. Let's go to Rome. What are you most excited to see? The ruins. I don't know why I'm going to read the rest of these answers. I'm going to get Athena so hard, aren't I?
You might.
Oh, God. Super Hulon. Rise of the Brave Tangled Dragons?
Yeah.
What?
You don't know them?
No! Oh, God. I feel like in my soul, I'm more of a Doctor Who than a Supernatural, so... You know better than I do. What cabin do you think you're in? Think Aphrodite. Finally, pick a topic you cannot escape from while listening to Monster Donut. That's a good question. Oh my god. It's either History Repeats or the Odyssey and the Iliad. I feel like it has to be History Repeats because I won't shut up about it. I got Aphrodite! That's crazy!
Nice.
Wait, that's so funny. I thought for sure I was getting Athena taking this. So far, the empirical evidence stands.
I got Nemesis this time.
That, you know...
Which, it's not as far... You know, like, there were sometimes I took this quiz and got, like, Hermes. And I was like, that's wrong. That just feels... actually, you know what? It could be Hermes. But, like, I kept getting, like, Zeus or Hermes, Athena. I got Apollo. I'm reading the list right now. Apollo, Hecate, Tyche, Nike at one point. And, like, I just felt like I was drifting further away and closer. Nemesis is closer.
I like your quiz. I like it.
Thank you.
All right. Mine is half the length. I feel like I need to add more questions now. We'll see how accurate it is.
Choose a Homeric epithet for yourself. As in the one I want, or the one I would have, I think.
Whichever.
This is tough. There are ones that are, like, I would love in a dream world, but I know don't belong to me. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I would love for people to say sweet spoken, but that is unfortunately not me, I think. I'm going to say all-seeing. I like that. Which of Emily's books are you?
This isn't even all of them.
The problem with this one is I did take a U quiz you once made that told me which character I am. So the Pirate King one might be just sort of automatically the one I have to go with.
I feel like I would pick that one for you too, though.
If I didn't know that, though, I think the assassin who hates her boss is kind of calling to me.
You should pick that one, then. Take that one.
Pick a newspaper section to read. Cartoons. Rate how petty you are. I remember every single person who has ever wronged me. Maybe I'm not doing anything about it, but I do remember it.
See, and I love that you understood the difference between that one and revenge is healing.
Right? Like, I'm not gonna go seeking revenge on anyone. Alright, it's the big one. What is your fatal flaw? I mean, I did just say my good opinion once lost is gone forever a little bit, just in a different way.
Okay, Mr. Darcy.
But I am a little bit of a perfectionist. I do have to fix everything before I can move on. And that gets in my way more consistently. And also, if you lost my good opinion, I don't think that's a flaw. I think that's your problem more than mine.
Well, it's the idea that it's gone forever. Like, people cannot redeem themselves to you. That's a problem sometimes, you know?
I don't know. I don't know which one to go with. Because both are true. One is more relevant to my life than the other one. I have to make sure things are perfect and it slows me down. And, like, I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay.
Demeter.
I think my Demeter answers aren't good. You should have gone with my good opinion once lost.
Oh, do you want me to take it again and see if that would have changed things?
Yeah. I'm curious now.
Demeter.
Oh, fascinating. You picked the only Hades answer that's only Hades.
What's
and
that
that's, I never forget a person who's wronged me. That's only Hades. Interesting. Okay, never mind. I was, like, really hoping you'd get Hades on my quiz.
It's fine. I think the quiz gods are telling me something.
Well, I just retook mine. I got Hermes. And the first time I took it, I got Hecate. No one's gotten Aphrodite on my quiz yet, though. No one's gotten Athena either.
That's surprising. You'd think you'd have a lot of Athena kids.
Well, it's because I can't, like, put, like, are you good at taking tests on there? Like,
I put, are you good at taking tests on there? I don't remember if that was an Athena answer, though. Taking tests gives you Nike.
Oh.
Because I feel like an Athena kid is more likely to say, oh, I'm good at games, or I'm good at baseball. You know, these, like, thinking little places where they get to put themselves in a little think tank, a little fake war. While a Nike kid is just stuck on, I'm gonna get 100 on this test. Alright, if you would like to take these quizzes, they are linked again in the description below. Please send us your results. I want to know what people are getting and whether they agree with it.
We need a poll at some point on Instagram as well over whose quiz is better. Like, who is getting more favorable results. I want the statistics on this. 'Cause, I mean, to be honest, I don't really care who wins. I'm just really curious.
It'll be a poll on Spotify. Which quiz gave you a more accurate result? And also, whatever you just heard, I am assuming it is a cut down version of the conversation that we just had. So you won't be hearing all of the questions that are in the quiz. Just because mine is 20 questions long. What bead would you give the Demigods of Olympus app now that we've fully experienced it? Really, what we just did is probably the most authentic version of it that you can do anymore.
Oh man. Honestly, I want Columbia on my bead. I like Columbia a lot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
She is the most intriguing thing in this in this material to me.
I agree.
How about you?
My instinct is to have Nemo the fish holding like a picket sign. Like Nemo's sign, the joke that follows her. Because I do want something that represents her on my bead, but I can't think of anything that feels right. Like, I guess the library card would work, but it feels so irrelevant to the rest of the story that I don't want to do it.
It doesn't come back. It does, like, he tries to use it and it doesn't work. And they're like, that's not when you use this. And then it never comes back.
It's such a silly design to put it on a bead. But it's all I got.
Thank you all for listening. Next time.
What is next time?
Gods and Heroes?
It might be.
And after that, we're just gonna do one last episode, I think, with all the confidential randoms, like every other little random thing we've missed, basically.
Yeah, we could probably include the guide in that one also, because they're all like kind of the same concept, where it's like a lot of just sort of fun stuff plus a couple new details about life at camp or like what's going on with the characters.
And then after that, Reorderverse wrap up, baby.
We keep calling it that, even though it's just the Percy Jackson universe.
Yeah, sorry. The Greek and the Greco-Romans.
Yeah.
Sure, those guys. We'll do a total wrap up. Aside from, we are missing 2 books that we know now, though, which is we're missing the last of the trilogy and Two Sun, Two Star, but.
Yeah, but we'll get to those. We'll just read them when they come out. You know what I found out just the other day?
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed this. Apparently in the UK version of Blood of Olympus, at the very back, there was a fan-written version of the final battle. That was like a totally different take on like an alternate ending, essentially, to Blood of Olympus.
Do you remember what happened?
Instead of going to the Acropolis, they go to like this underground temple, and there's like a clear place where like the sacrifice is supposed to happen on these stones. This is what it's all been leading to. Everyone gets to show off, like Percy causes an earthquake. Cool. Annabeth is like killed at one point, like her heart stops, and Jason uses his combo of like electricity and being able to control air to like bring her back.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's a walking AED and, rescue breaths.
Whoever wrote this, I think apparently I'm reading all of this information on Tumblr. So like take
famously reliable source, Tumblr.com.
Right. But like I can't find it anywhere else. But apparently it was a contest through Puffin Books that was like write your own version of how Percy Jackson might, or like how Blood of Olympus might end. And so I guess this was an alternate ending before the book was published. Isn't that like, if that's true, that's the craziest addition to the like Rick Riordan relationship to Blood of Olympus lore.
Yeah.
If this is in your copy of Blood of Olympus, if you're listening to this and this is in your copy of Blood of Olympus, please send me like video evidence. I want you to open your copy of Blood of Olympus for me and show it to me in the back of the book. Because even though I've seen pictures of it and everyone's saying, yes, this was in my copy. Oh my gosh, I didn't think anyone else knew about this. I'm like, I don't believe you. This can't be real. I would have heard about this.
That's so bonkers.
Anyway.
That's funny. So, speaking of getting in touch with us, if you take our quiz, if you have any information on this, or any questions you want to add to our wrap-up, or just any thoughts you want to share, did you have this app? Please let us know. Did you finish it? Did you pay almost $10 to find out who your godly parent was? We are dying to know. You can either email us at monsterdonutpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, and you can also find us at PJOpod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. You can also, if you are interested in supporting us, leave us a rating or review or comment. That really helps us out. And it's really fun to get to see what y'all are enjoying about the episode, or if you have any thoughts you want to add. And it also really helps if you recommend us to a friend. We just love chatting Percy Jackson with y'all, so the more the merrier. And also, if you are interested in or in a position to support us monetarily, that also really helps us out. And you can do so either by buying us a coffee on Ko-fi, or by joining our Patreon. Every little bit helps us out. Also, if you are interested at all in our merch, you can check out our merch shop at monsterdonut.redbubble.com. Links to everything are also in our link trees, which is linked on all of our social media. So again, we really appreciate any amount of support you are willing to give. To that end, thank you to our patrons.
Latino Kaya, Patty VCK, Bethany from Public Works, Sydney Fox, Joke, Reina Avila Ramirez Ariano, Ethan Not Nakamura, Kels, Mason Bowman, Casey Cassidy, Vizzy Cat, Natalia, Sally May, Melissa Rounds, Bridud, Bones of a Carrot, Alana, Pamela Ion, The Kid on Her Own, Grace Hunker, Kaylee, Manna Munchin, Calamity, Eddie Burns, Sarah Brown, Colby Redfern, Iz, and May. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you so much.
See you all next time.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, let's talk about your expense report.
I didn't submit an expense report.
You will. Custom saddles and dog training services are not within policy.
What are you talking about?
SAP Concur uses advanced AI to audit and automatically detect out-of-policy expenses. It's the breakthrough I needed to focus more on our future.
These are my future expenses?
Yes, and self-defense classes are out of policy.
I'll need self-defense classes?
You will.
For what?
It's a big dog.
SAP Concur helps your business move forward faster. Learn more at concur.com.
Este es el mejor momento de ahorrar en Verizon, porque puedes llevarte hasta 4 teléfonos nuevos ahora en nuestros planes más bajos. Es muy fácil. Imagínate todo lo que vas a poder hacer con un teléfono nuevo. Dile chao a las fotos borrosas. Vas a poder tomarte unas selfies increíbles y vas a poder hablar con tus primos sin que se muera la batería después de 5 minutos. Este es tu momento de ahorrar. Visita tu tienda Verizon y llévate hasta 4 teléfonos 5G. Sí, 4 teléfonos, ahora en nuestros planes más bajos. Al intercambiar teléfonos de Apple, Samsung o Google en cualquier condición. Solo en Verizon.
When you think of skyrocketing brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, it's easy to credit their success to great products, sleek branding, and brilliant marketing. But here's the overlooked secret. The real magic lies in the engine behind the scenes, the business powering their business. For millions of brands, that engine is Shopify, making selling seamless for them and shopping effortless for us. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Aloe Yoga uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/retail, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/retail to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/retail.